Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to be learning together again. This class is part of Drisha's 2024 Virtual Summer Kollel. Welcome to this second session of the Exiled Student with Dr. Shana, Strauch, Schick. And we probably don't need a full introduction today, right? So with that, I'll just turn this to you, Dr. Schick.
Thank you so much. And hi, everyone. Good to see you all again. So I want to jump right into it because last time we were in the middle of the Gemara, but we didn't finish it. So, it's good to see you all. Last time we met, let me share my screen. We had started, I'm going through, and I just want to tell you, we're going to be using the same source sheet that you have. Like this is what we're working with. So whatever we were using last time. Where is the heck are my sources? Okay, so can I open it?
Do you need my help?
Yeah, no, I just want to. I thought I had opened up the sources, and I don't.
They're also in the chat, so.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I just want to open it because to review what we did. Okay. So we started our Gemara with this opening rule, which says, here we go, Talmud Shegala, the student who goes into exile, their teacher goes with them. Okay, and then the Gemara we saw went through the flow of the Gemara. It brought a biblical proof test. That's what the Gemara does. That's just its thing. It doesn't just tell you things. It wants to bring a biblical support for it. And so the support was this verse from Devarim, from Deuteronomy, which talks about the city of refuge, that if someone, that you're supposed to make these 3 or 6 altogether, or city of refuge is 3 on in the lands of Israel proper, and then 3 on the eastern side of the Jordan, for someone who accidentally kills without knowing he didn't hate him from yesterday or the day before, and he nas min harim ha'el v'chai, he runs to one of these cities v'chai and lives. And so from this proof text, v'chai, the Gemara derives avidle mide tehave le chayuta. He should do something that he will have life, and so therefore he brings his Rebbe with him, and that was the was it Miranda? I can't remember now. Are you the one who gave the a positive interpretation of what is the logic of bringing your Rebbe with you? Because Torah is life, and you still have to live, even the city of refuge. Okay, so that we saw that. But then we the Gemara then brings another halakha, another law, another statement by a 3rd generation Amora. It's a Talmudic sage from the land of Israel, Rabbi Zira, who says something which seems a little strange. From here, you learn that you shouldn't teach a student who isn't worthy. Okay? And we said, wait, what's the connection? And then you all rightly pointed out, well, the connection is, well, you don't have a student who's not worthy, who's gonna, do something bad like this, which is then going to cause you to have to go into a city of refuge. And then and Rashi elaborated on this, that you don't want to have a student whose sins are going to lead him to accidentally kill someone, and then you're going to have to go to the city of refuge. So from this, this gave us more of the kind of picture that Yasmin described, that it's also possible to see this obligation that the teacher goes with the student as more of a negative thing. It's almost like, well, you bear some responsibility. If you have a student who could do something like this, that's a little bit on you as well. And so is the teacher going into the city of refuge maybe some sort of a punishment? Is it possible to see that too? And so therefore Rabbi Zera says, make sure you only have good students, so this isn't going to happen to you. you do not want to go into the city of refuge. So that's where we left off, that on one hand, this law can be seen as a positive thing, as v'chai. It's havele l'chayute. It's a matter of life, having to bring one's teacher in with them. On the other hand, can it also be seen in more of a less favorable light? If someone could have a student who can do this, maybe that's on the teacher a little bit, and this is kind of like a punishment in some way. So that's where we left off. But then the Gemara has a few more statements in this, so I just want to make sure we all get this. So you prepare this already, and I don't want I want us to go on to do some other sources. So someone want to just read this for us? We had seen this last time, but want to make sure it's all clear to everyone.
Read from where?
Great, thank you. So we're up to Amar Rabbi Yochanan.
So Dvarim. Okay, let me read from here. No. So, below. Okay, Amar Rabbi Yochanan.
Yeah.
Right from there.
Mhm.
Harab Shegala Megalin Yeshiva Toimo.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is Rabbi Yochanan. This is a famous second generation Amora Rabbi Yochanan. It's not the Tana Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. He's the Mishnah, the one who escaped Yerushalayim in a coffin. That's someone else. When you see Rabbi Yochanan in the Gemara, that's talking about Rabbi Yochanan ben Napacha. Okay, so what does he say?
The yeshiva, his yeshiva goes with him into exile.
And who's? I should make it clear.
The Rav, who follows the student.
Yeah, now that's a good point. Is this the Rav who's following the student? So when the Rav goes to the city, to Ir Miklat, he has to take his whole yeshiva with him as well. Now, is this the Rav who's accompanying his student, or what's the alternative?
If he himself is the doer.
Exactly. So there's a little ambiguity there, but either way, when the Rav is exiled, he brings his yeshiva with him. Okay. Now, what comes next in the Gemara?
Ini, really?
Yeah. Ini, excellent. It means really. Is that really the case? Okay, and
so Rabbi Yochanan. Minayin l'divrei Torah she'ein koltin.
Okay.
So, where do we learn that divrei Torah themselves provide klita?
Excellent. Okay, which is same language as Ir Miklat. I gotta say, I live in Israel. When the sirens went off, hopefully they won't do that again, but whenever the sirens go off, where do we go? Our safe room is called Miklat. So it's from the same language, Miklat, Ir Miklat, Koltin. Okay, so why is it okay? So so to make this clear, who is saying this right now? Who just asked this a question? Who's talking? Exactly. This is Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, let's make this clear. And he's the one who also talked here. Okay, so Rabbi Yochanan said, if a Rav goes into the Ir Miklat, he has to go into exile. His yeshiva goes with him. Okay, so what's happening now? Okay, so and now we're having Rabbi Yochanan say, how do you know that the words of Torah koltin, like gather you and provide refuge? Okay, so what's the answer?
Shnemar ed betzer midbar v'gomer. Steve Batre v'zot HaTorah.
Okay.
So we have the name of the city in the desert
and these
area.
aren't just any cities.
The city of refuge.
Yes.
That's Me'ever L'Yarden. And in that pasuk, in that same sense of the pasuk that says that in Dvarim, it says immediately thereafter, this is the Torah.
Exactly. Let me just, I don't know if everyone saw that or had a chance to look it up. Let's just, okay. So where does that happen? Let me just look what it says. So it says, this is the verse we saw before. It says, Azidel Moshe Shalosh Arim. Okay, so Moshe separated 3 cities on the other side of the Yarden, Mizrach HaShemesh, the eastern side, Leneshama, okay, Rotzeach, so that the person who kills can run there. One who kills without da'at. He didn't do it on purpose, and we already read this. And he didn't hate him. It's Moshel Shom. And then what does it say? At Betzer, Bar Beres Mishor. And these are the names of the cities. A city named Betzer in the desert, in the land of Mishor. That's in the tribe of Reuven's portion. Ramot in Gilad. The Golan. The Golan in the Bashan. And then what does it say in Pasuk Memdalid? V'zot haTorah asher sa Moshe lefnei b'nei Israel. This is the Torah that Moshe gave to Israel. Okay, so what does this show? Oh, I had it right here. I'm sorry. It was right here. Okay, so why is it saying this? First of all, what's the drasha? How does this show that Divrei Torah Koltin? What's his drasha here? What's his homily? Does anyone get like what's going on here?
Say there's a textual attribution and juxtaposition that is offered in the Gemara, that the, I guess, first instance of noting near Miklat has immediately thereafter V'zot HaTorah.
Now I don't know if this isn't the first instance of it, because Miklat is mentioned earlier in Bamidbar, but that doesn't matter. I mean, that's, you don't need that. It's the second part you said. We have this mention of the Miklat, right? This here, these 2 Pesukim are talking about the Miklat. And then right after that, it says Zot HaTorah. Okay. So okay. So what's the drasha that Rabbi Yochanan is making here? So verses about city of refuge are then juxtaposed with, this is the Torah. So why does that matter? The fact that they're juxtaposed? What does Rabbi Yochanan learn out from that? So what does he learn out from the fact that they're juxtaposed?
So potentially the intent of the city of refuge is to buttress the maintaining of the Torah.
Is that, what do you mean? I mean, what's his drasha? Can you just explain what you mean?
So the city of refuge is either some aspect of V'zot HaTorah, or it's there in order to maintain the Torah.
But is that what he says? What's his question? Minayin l'divrei Torah she'ein koltim. Because we have to understand this, because we also have to understand why is the Gemara telling us this. What does this have to do with what Rabbi Yochanan said before? I mean, what does ve'eni imply? You're absolutely right when you said it means, is this really so? So what is going on? Like what is the connection between these 2 statements of Rabbi Yochanan?
Maybe like I think with studying Torah, inherently the student needs the teacher. And
Okay.
so if the city of refuge is like Torah, the exiled student also needs the teacher there. Because he's saying really to the initial statement that the Rav needs to go with the student to the city of exile.
You're close, but has to be a little bit sharper. You're missing one thing, but that's close. Rabbi Yochanan said, his point is, Harav Shegala Megalin Yeshivato Imo. If the Rav is exiled, his yeshiva goes with him. And then what's this other Adrasha of Rabbi Yochanan saying? What's he trying to prove from the juxtaposition between the verse about the city of refuge and the verse that says this is the Torah?
Is it about the word some? Does that mean like placing something?
Where is it? Oh, well,
Zot
what?
haTorah asher sam Moshe.
Well, what does he say here? What does minayin the Devrei Torah shehein koltim mean?
The Divrei Torah are is the thing that actually provides miklat.
Is he
Okay.
saying like from where do we get this?
Yeah. Now, it's not
Right.
that actually, it's that from where do we know that what? Let's just try.
That the words of Torah surround the exiles, presumably. Is that who the Koltin are? Surround them?
Well, koltim means means surrounds or protect. He learns out that the words of Torah surround or protect. Okay? That's what this juxtaposition teaches. That just like the city of refuge protects, the fact that the Torah then juxtaposes the city of refuge, what do we learn about the words of Torah?
They also protect.
Exactly. The words of Torah protect. So now, why is the Gemara bring this? The fact that it says Eini, is this really so? What's the Gemara asking? There's a question here. What's the question that the Gemara is raising from one statement of Rabbi Yochanan onto the other statement of Rabbi Yochanan?
I don't know if this is the question you're looking for, but my question is how.
What do you mean? How do the words of Torah protect?
Yes, because
that's a good
he's saying
question.
that the Rav
Um,
brings his entire yeshiva, and then he
Okay.
goes from that to Divrei Torah protects
Okay.
them.
Right.
How?
I mean, you're getting to a good point here.
Also, maybe just like if the city of refuge protects and the words of Torah protect, then like why does the whole yeshiva need to come as well?
Excellent. You got it.
Because like the
Mhm.
protection should be like kind of the fulfillment of your needs, I would assume, but then there's like the element of
I mean, you got it, because meaning these two statements of Rabbi Yochanan, if it's saying Eini is, remember, Gemara talks in a code. This is code for this. This really means, is that really true? Or in other words, something, this means, is this really so? Okay, but what is that meaning? What are we going to do? He has another statement of Rabbi Yochanan contradicts what he just said. Or meaning it challenges that. On one hand, he's saying, well, if a Rav goes into exile, his yeshiva must go with him. But then on the other hand, he said, well, the words of Torah, how do you know that the Torah's what the words of Torah protect? Oh, meaning the words of Torah protect. So Miranda, can you say that again? I mean, there's a certain flaw in this logic the Gemara is seeing?
So if the Rav will be protected inherently in the city of refuge by the Miklat and by the words of Torah, why does he also need the yeshiva?
Or you can say the other way.
Yeah.
If the words of Torah protect, why does the Torah have to go into an miklat? I mean, it's, like, it seems like, it seems like what he's saying, that the miklat is also culti. I mean, the words of Torah, it looks like he's saying it's just as affected as the miklat. So almost may seem like, why would a Rav even have to go into the miklat? Is that what it's asking? His yeshiva already is, an miklat. So what is the Gemara? And a question becomes clear when we see what the answer is. How does the Gemara answer these two statements of Rabbi Yochanan? I mean, because they seem to kind of, it's not that they contradict, but how they don't seem to really comport with each other. If the words of Torah protect, then if you're learning Torah, should you have to go into an miklat? According to this drush, I mean, that really drives home the point. If someone's learning Torah, do they have to go to an miklat? Like, according to, if you only saw this drasha on its own, if the words of Torah protect, so right, you wouldn't have to go to an miklat if you're learning a Torah. So then why should a Rav have to go to an miklat with his yeshiva? It seems like his yeshiva itself is an miklat outside of the that functions as an miklat. Yeah, sorry, Yasmin, and then Miranda, you have questions.
Maybe it's a sort of like a whole that can't function without a single part. So if a Talmid has to go to an miklat and they go without the Rav or the yeshiva, then they lack a teacher. How are they supposed to learn Divrei Torah properly so that they can have a life without their teacher? But if their teacher goes and the yeshiva doesn't go, then the other Talmidei of this rabbi are deprived of a teacher as well. So that's not fair to them either.
If there's no teacher, then what is missing?
Then they're not also getting proper instruction of Torah. So the high part, like, are they really having any more of a life than a teacherless Talmid in an miklat? So the whole unit has to go.
Miranda, did you want to add?
I would think that there's also a very just practical answer, maybe. I think the sages were also very practical people who had real lives and know that, like, sometimes you aren't studying Torah, sometimes you're making dinner, sometimes you're going to the bathroom, or sometimes you're asleep. So, like, when you're not studying Torah,
Can you read that inside? Read what you just said. It's inside the Gemara.
Oh.
Where I just highlighted right here. Lo kasha.
Lo kasha ha be'idana da'asek ba ha idana de la asek ba.
Okay, so what does that mean? Can someone just translate that for us?
The first part just says, like, it's not hard. It's not.
Yeah, lo kasha, meaning there's no, what does that mean? Lo kasha, anyone know what lo kasha means?
It's not difficult.
Yeah, exactly. And what that's used to mean is there's no contradiction. Remember, because we want to say there's a contradiction between these two statements of Rabbi Yochanan, right? Because one, he's saying, I'm just going to put it in here. I will write it in English just for clarity's sake. One is Rav is exiled with his yeshiva. But then on the other hand, we said that Divrei Torah Koltin. Fine, never mind. I'll write it in English, right? words of Torah protect. So therefore, a yeshiva and a rav shouldn't have to go into exile because their Torah, their yeshiva is the Ir Miklat. So what's the answer? So how does the Gemara resolve this? How is this lo kasha? Says Gemara, no, there's no contradiction. So how does it resolve it? What's ha be'idna da asikba? Anyone knows what that means? Be'idna da asikba?
This is at the time that they're involved with Torah.
Exactly. So which one is where they're involved with a Torah?
When the yeshiva is actively learning Torah.
Exactly. Meaning, and therefore what? So which of these two statements refers to when they're involved with learning Torah?
So presumably the Kolton is when they're actively learning Torah.
Exactly. When the words Torah protect, the idna da asikba. And that literally means at the time when they are involved in learning Torah, just like Miranda said, and Yasmin also, I mean, that's what you were basically saying. And when is the Rav exiled with his yeshiva? I mean, when is it necessary for the yeshiva to, when does that yeshiva need the Ir Miklat to protect it?
Whenever they're not learning Torah.
Exactly. Be'idna delo esik. Right there. Be'idna delo esikba. When they are not actively involved in learning. Yeah, so that's like Mara said, don't worry, there's no contradiction.
So does
Okay.
that mean that the Rav and the yeshiva would kind of have an academic calendar where they would be in the Ir Miklat during Torah study time, and then when the Torah
Right.
study time is not occurring, would they go back?
That is an excellent question. The Gemara does.
I'd say the opposite.
Yeah.
Right, but either way, like you're saying, is so, whenever they're not learning, they have to like quickly run to the Ir Miklat. But when they are learning, they can leave. That's a really good question. Like how does this work?
I would think like in the absence of cars and trains, they would probably just stay in the Ir Miklat because it would just be more pragmatic.
Right.
Maybe.
Right. I mean, but it's a really good question. And basically, how do all these parts work together? How does this practically work? The Gemara doesn't say. And that's why we have commentaries on the Gemara. So these are all good questions. Now the Gemara then brought, what's Ibait Ema mean? Anyone know what Ibait Ema means?
So if you need to, or if you desire, you can say.
Excellent. Yes. The word ba'i means, it can mean three things: require, desire, or inquire, and they rhyme. It's the Hebrew doresh. I mean, if it's has the same function. But yeah, so it can mean those three things. And what that means, anytime you see the phrase ibait ema, if you want, I can say, it's going to give an alternative answer. That's what's going on. So meaning because we are trying to reconcile this contradiction between two statements of Rabbi Yochanan. One hand he says the Rav is exiled with the yeshiva. On the other hand, he says, well, the Torah koltin surrounds or protects. So if it protects, then why should a Rav and his yeshiva have to be exiled in the first place? So it's going to give us an. So what's the alternative answer? So we had one way. So anyone know? So can someone say what this is referring to? How does this how does the Gemara here, according to the second answer, resolve it?
I'll be happy to continue if
Yes, go.
nobody else volunteers. Michael Tin Malach HaMavet.
Okay.
Torah protects.
Malach, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. But
I believe Malach Mot is the angel of death.
Okay. So how does this help? So which one of these refers to the angel of death in our
Probably
this
the
chart
words of
here?
Torah.
Okay, from the angel of death, meaning
There's
as
like-
opposed to what?
There's like the physical protection of the Ir Miklat and then the metaphysical protection of the words of Torah.
So who does the Ir Miklat protect from?
The blood avenger.
Yeah,
the
the
family.
person. So the Rav and his yeshiva must go into exile to protect from, the human, it's basically the relatives of the victim. And when we say words of Torah protect, what is that referring to? Is it going to protect from the family, from the victim's family? Right. It can't, and maybe what they're saying is, it's not that it's going to protect from humans. That's what it looks like is going on here, right? Yasmin, you wanted to say something?
So it seems like the Divrei Torah protect against the kind of supernatural phenomena, and the Rav and
Yeah.
the Yeshiva protect against the human phenomena.
Yeah. And I think that, not to get too relevant right now, but it's certainly, you can understand this being very relevant right now. I'm living in Israel, and there's a lot of, fights about, going to the army. And, certainly is there, big set of publication who argues, if we should go to the army, we have to be learning Torah. And I could just say, so this Gemara, maybe the first part of the Gemara, you could say, yeah, okay, yeah, we need people learning Torah to protect, but then this would say, well, no, that doesn't protect from like the human element. It can maybe protect from, like natural death. I mean, the Malach HaMavet, it seems to be representing like natural death. When someone's time to come, like, Ibn Ezra, the biblical commentator, he makes a distinction between someone who dies at the time that they're meant to die versus someone who dies in war, or by the hands of another person. That's not when they were supposed to die. Like a human cut their life short. So that, that looks like the distinction here, like the angel of death, like the supernatural, like the natural way of death versus human a vengeance. And I just, I can't help but thinking, I teach at Bar Ilan medieval rabbinic commentators, and this year it seemed right to spend a lot of time on the Crusades because it was a little bit too close to home. And one of the, one of the things that happened in the Crusades, so often, we hear about what happened in Europe when at the beginning of the Crusades and all, those communities in Ashkenaz, in northern France and Germany, which were, attacked and destroyed. But there's another part of the Crusades when the Crusaders came to Jerusalem, and there was a Jewish community here. And here, because I'm living in Jerusalem, and there actually was a yeshiva in Jerusalem that was attacked and destroyed. And many, people were either killed or sold, either taken a captive. We actually have letters in the Cairo Geniza of the Jewish communities in Egypt, in Syria, ransoming a captive. So, history repeats itself. That was one thing, but we also say, so here you just have this very jarring example of a yeshiva which is attacked and the people in it are killed. Now, maybe you could say, we know life happens, but in the logic of this Gemara, we can understand, yeah, it doesn't protect from people. And it could protect, like this case here of Rev Chisda. So what's the case of Rev Chisda? What does this story, what is this anecdote? It brought in an anecdote. I don't know if anyone got to it. But you understand what this anecdote was showing here.
I can continue reading or
Okay.
כי עד רב חיסדא אבי v'garis b'vei rav.
Okay, so what is, anyone know what that means, or you know what that means?
So Chisda sat and was learning.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
B'vei rav.
Veirav is the house
of Rav.
Yeah, exactly. So he was sitting and learning. And what happened as long as he was learning?
Lo hava kayachol shlicha d'malacha d'mota l'mikra v'legabe. The Malach HaMavet, implied, but then explicated, was
Mhm.
unable to send himself forth
Yeah,
to get close to him.
yeah, exactly. Meaning, so what's happening in this anecdote?
This would be the second one, the Divrei Torah protecting him from.
Exactly. Here we have like a proof that words of Torah protect, but what do words of Torah protect from? From all deaths?
Seems like it's just the angel of death, so would that be
Yeah,
natural causes?
exactly. Exactly. This is the proof the word Torah can protect from the angel of death. So meaning it's not that it protects from everything. You can't, like learn Torah and jump in front of a car and say, okay, I'm going to be okay. The car's not going to hit me. No, it's only a case like this. As long as he's studying the angel of death, that. I don't know. I mean, right. I thought I like, like Yasmin was trying to find the right words. Is this supernatural, metaphysical, whatever it is, like the natural way that death comes to a person can't come as long as he learned. Yeah, Miranda, did you want to say something? Okay, and so he didn't stop learning. So he kept learning. Rev Chisda kept learning. Okay, and then what happened?
Delo havashatik puma migirsa. He kept his mouth going.
Yeah,
in
or
learning.
Eloya Shatik, because he didn't like a Sheket. I mean, the letters are switched, but he didn't like silence his mouth from learning. Okay.
And Saliki Ativa Arza de Rav. So here I think the subject switches. And the Malach HaMavet went out and he sat on the cedar tree at Beirav. Peka Arza Vishatik. The tree broke. And Rav Chisda stopped talking, stopped learning.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like so what happened? There's like a noise. He hears this noise outside and it like startled him.
And the Malach HaMavet got him.
Yeah. Okay. And this story might sound familiar. There's a similar story. I see some of you shaking your head. It's told about David HaMelech, right? He learned Torah all the time, and then like the angel of death couldn't get to him, so he like had wind go that would blow on the harp over his bed. So this is a recurring theme that appears elsewhere in the Bavli. So this would be the response that words of Torah, maybe they can protect from like the natural death. Still, I think people, even people who learn Torah get cancer screenings, and don't rely on that. It's But this Gemara would say, but it doesn't protect from human, real and present danger, like the family of a victim who has the right to come avenge the blood of their relative. Okay, so it's a very, very relevant Gemara. So that's the Gemara here. Okay, so it's a short sugya, and we see two things are going on. So again, we've seen that a teacher goes into exile with their student, and we see that there's two ways to understand that. It can be seen as positive, Torah's life, or it can have like a negative flavor to it. That, student, he has like a bit, the fact that he could have students who could do such a thing, does it reflect on the teacher, or either way, that teacher is like punished for it in some sense. So hence, says Rebbe Zera, so make sure, filter your students. And we also see that his teacher who goes into exile, his yeshiva goes with him, and try to understand that versus, well, doesn't Torah protect? Because Rebbe Yochanan says both those things. Now, a few of you were relating this line, Rebbe Yochanan's rule that a Rebbe brings his yeshiva, with this line that a student brings his Rebbe. And you're right to connect it, because, well, we'll say it like, so just getting back to these two halachot, if a student goes into exile, his Rebbe goes with him. And we also said that if a Rebbe goes into exile, his yeshiva goes with him. So is there a connection between these two statements? Someone was, a few of you were saying something before. Well, the Ritzvah, a commentary on this Gemara, he connects it. I want us to read this Ritzvah together, and then I want you to let's read this Gemara together. Let's read this Ritzvah together. Or how's everyone doing? Or do you want to have a little chavruta time to prepare this? I mean, it's a short gem. I mean, it's a short Ritzvah. Anyone have a preference here? Together, or do you want to have a little chavruta time?
Miranda said
Going
that she thinks
together.
it's helpful to go through it together. Do you mean
Okay.
together in a pair or together in class?
As a class.
As a
Right.
class.
Okay. So no one has seen this Ritzvah. So would someone here like to read it for us? So no one has seen it, so you don't have to know what it means. Yasmin, thank you.
And we're starting with Vahatanya.
Well, right, we are starting with
Oh,
this
whoops.
Ritzvah, the
Got it.
source number 2 in your sources.
Okay.
So the Ritzvah, he is late 13th century commentary. On the Talmud. Okay, so Megalin Rabo Imo. So he's commenting on that line that we saw. A student who goes into exile, his Rebbe goes with him.
And the first thing we have is an initial that I'm unfamiliar with.
Okay. So Pei Yud stands for Perush. Meaning he's going to explain this. Perush. The meaning of this is as follows.
Okay. Ba'af al pi.
And I will fill that in. Okay, so Perush.
Ba'af al pi sheyesh. Sheyesh yeshiva be'irei miklat shelo
Okay,
min.
let's stop there. Af al pi sheyesh yeshiva be'arei miklat. What does that mean?
Even though we have a yeshiva in the city of refuge.
Exactly. Why is he saying that? How does he know there's a yeshiva in the city of refuge?
It's a good question. How do we know that there's already been a Talmid or a Rav who has committed an unintentional murder and therefore needs
Well,
the
you
yeshiva?
just said the answer. I mean, you just said the answer. Why would there be a yeshiva in an Ir Miklat?
He's just assuming the hypothetical that somebody committed an accidental murder.
Yeah, and if someone commits an accidental murder, then what happens?
They're Rav and therefore their yeshiva
Exactly.
goes with them.
The Rav goes. And if the Rav goes, then the yeshiva goes too. Right? I mean, so the Ritz was putting this all together. He's saying, so meaning, what he's saying, I mean, you're right. You said it. Odds are there's going to be a yeshiva in the Ir Miklat. So if there's already a yeshiva, now he maybe he's not saying there's necessarily a yeshiva. What's he saying? Afal pi, even if there is one. So meaning, what's he saying? Let's say, someone committed accidental murder, and then the Rav had to go in, and then their yeshiva came in. So what's he saying? There's already a yeshiva in the Ir Miklat. And if there's already a yeshiva in the Ir Miklat, then what? What's the question he's really asking? Or what's the point he's making?
He's using that to explain why the Rav goes with the Galin.
Yeah. Okay. Meaning why? Okay, so, and what's his chiddush here? Why does the Rav have to be exiled with his student? I'm saying his because I just have to make this clear. Because they're talking about men. Okay. That's who the working assumption is. That's why I'm only using masculine pronouns. Because that's who their assumption is. In the Bavli, at least. Now, Eretz Yisrael, the situation might have been different, okay? But anyways, why does the Rebbe have to be exiled? I mean, we know this. Why is Rebbe exiled too?
To
Because you go ahead.
help sustain the
As a study.
individual.
Okay. So the question that's really asking is, well, what if there's already a yeshiva there? If there's already a yeshiva there, then
Does the Rav have to go? Is that
yeah,
what he's asking? Because there's probably another Rav there.
right.
several.
If there's a yeshiva, then there's a Rav there because the yeshiva went with the Rav. And if there's a Rav there, then what is there? The Torah. So what's the Ritzvah's question that he's asking this, but he's asking it by answering it. If there's already a yeshiva there, then what's the question?
Why do we need another?
Yeah. Why does his Rav have to go? If the reason that his Rav is going, what did we say? Our Miranda reason, right, is you need Torah. Torah's life. Okay, well, if there's already a yeshiva there, because let's say another Rav was exiled, then he has Chayuta. He has a way of studying. So maybe if there's already a yeshiva there, the Rav shouldn't have to be exiled too. So what does the Ritzvah say? If there's already a yeshiva there, does the Rav still have to go? What's the Ritzvah's answer to that?
Is it in the next part of the sentence?
Well,
Or
what
just
did
its
you
first part?
already read?
Af al pi sheyesh yeshiva be'irei miklat.
Yeah,
Even if he still has to go.
exactly.
So the af al pi is what's telling us that yes, he still has to go.
Yes, exactly. So even though there's a yeshiva, the Rav still has to go. Now, of course, the obvious question is what?
Why?
Why? Exactly, why? If the point is to study Torah, if there's a yeshiva, he can study Torah. So, okay, I won't go to my yeshiva, I'll go to another yeshiva. Isn't Torah Torah? Why should we exile the Rav if there's already a yeshiva there? So he answers this. So that he doesn't often, when you look at medieval commentaries, they don't actually spell a question out, but the question is implied by the answers they provide. So what's the answer? So, okay, so again, let's just make this all clear. I'm very visual. Okay, so we have, if a Rav is exiled, then we know his yeshiva. That should have been it. There you go. His yeshiva is exiled. So that also tells us there's likely, there's a yeshiva in the city of refuge. And then let's say someone is exiled to this city, and there's a yeshiva, right? And the question is, does his Rebbe still have to go with him? And the answer is yes. So what's the reason? So the Ritva tells us what the reason is. Okay. So Yasmin, you want to read this next line here?
Shelo min hakol adam zocha lilmud ke'amrin
That's
b'masechet avodah zara.
Good, excellent. Okay, so he gets his answer from Masechet Avodah Zarah. You get what I brought. But so what does he say? Shelo min hakol adam. Shelo min hakol adam zocha lilmud. What does that mean? Can anyone figure out what that means?
An individual is a zocher.
What does it mean? It's not zocher?
An individual doesn't merit to learn from just anybody.
Exactly. Okay. A person can't merit to learn from just anybody, or even from everybody. So what's the Rif's answer?
The Rebbe has to go because the Talmud can't learn from just any person.
Yeah. Can someone want to say more about this? Like what's his point? I mean, what's the
I
guess
feel like maybe the idea here is because the Rebbe is sort of responsible for what happens here. In order to restore the merit of the individual, they need to learn again with that Rebbe, and both of them need to correct the mistake in learning that happened and to commit this crime.
Yeah, that's really, yeah, I think I really like that, what you're saying. They have a connection specifically in this in this tragedy that happened. Does anyone else have anything else? Anyone else have any thoughts about this? I want to add to what Sarah just said.
So presumably the level
Or wait,
Torah,
sorry, was that Sarah who just said that, or is that Willow? I couldn't see.
It was Willow.
Okay, sorry.
You're
You're in
good.
the shadow, so I couldn't see your mouth. Thank you, Willow. I'm sorry.
possibly the level of Torah that is actually protective isn't achieved unless the individual has an optimal learning circumstance.
That's nice. No, I like that. I really like that you're all connecting it to this context as well.
I also have an idea for why the Rebbe should, or why the specific student's Rebbe should go. And I think a lot of learning is really cultural. So bringing a Rebbe with you from your hometown, even if it's like small differences in different hometowns, there is like the cultural basis to learning that your Rebbe knows, and maybe the Rebbe in the Yirmi Clot won't.
Yeah, I think you see it even in like a larger way, as you're saying, like you have a connection, or you connect to your teacher, or you learn well with them. You don't, I mean, maybe saying like a general educational statement, we don't we can't learn with everyone. You don't connect with every teacher. There's certain teachers that you relate to, that resonate with you, that you're able to learn from, that they're more effective. Yeah, and that's what this Gemara, maybe that's what the Ritzvah is saying. But I really liked you all pointed out, because I actually was thinking it in the more general sense. Yeah, like we just connect with some teachers more than others, and if you have that connection, that's not a given that's always going to happen. You can't assume it's going to happen with this other yeshiva that's already there. But I really like that you connected it specifically to this context. It's particularly meaningful. Thinking about what you said, that especially someone who has committed an accidental murder. I mean, that's such a terrible thing. I mean, it's such a trauma, and perhaps it's specifically in this a context that they need that person who has already been there with them. So I think it's very powerful to connect it to this context as well. I mean, the Gemara, the Ritzvah, is drawing from it's an unrelated Gemara, totally unrelated. It is about it's from a Masechet Avodah Zarah, as Yasmin said, and it's a Gemara. It concerns a debate between Rabbi Yochanan, whom we've met, and Reish Lakish, someone he often spars with, concerning the prohibition of deriving benefit from idolatry and providing benefit to idolatry. Okay, so Rabbi Yochanan holds both are prohibited, whereas Reish Lakish says it's only prohibited to derive benefit from idolatry, but not to cause benefit. Okay, and then the Gemara tries to prove Reish Lakish's view. That, and it brings up right there that you are allowed to purchase items from idol worshippers. Okay, meaning, and you're purchasing, so you're giving money to idol worshippers, and you're allowed to write and uphold documents in their courts. And okay, and the reason is, it says, because it's as if because it's if you are, you're rescuing the property from the idol worshippers' hands. Okay, and then it further says, here's the part that's going to be relating, that if he is a Kohen, so a priest, now it talks about a priest being allowed to become impure, by going to Israel, by leaving Israel, in order, and why can he do that? To litigate and contest in the courts of idolaters. Okay, and all that is to rescue items from idol worshippers. Okay, and then the Gemara says, okay, so let me show you where we are. And it says, just like a priest can be, can leave Eretz Yisrael in order to litigate in idol worshippers' courts, he can also even go into a cemetery. Now, a priest, someone who has priestly lineage, a Kohen, is not allowed to go to cemeteries. He's not allowed to be, and again, not allowed to be in the presence of a dead body. So ask the Gemara, do you really think he can become impure? Is he really allowed to go to a cemetery? This is, and this is, that's a biblical prohibition. So it says, okay, so it's only, so he can only go to a place where it's a rabbinic level of impurity. Okay, and then the Gemara now gets the point we need. And a Kohen can also become impure to learn Torah and to get married. Meaning, if the only way he can learn Torah or get married is by walking through a cemetery, he's allowed to. Okay, and ask the Gemara, or ask Amar Rebbe Yehuda, Matai. when is a Kohen allowed to become impure to learn Torah? To answer the Gemara, Bisman she'ein motzei lilmod. What do you think that means? Bisman she'ein motzei lilmod is? Ein motzei lilmod, ein. He doesn't or doesn't have. Motzei is find. Lilmod, to learn. Meaning when he can become impure. Now whatever that means, that may just be in terms of leaving Eretz Israel, or is it come into contact, with some sort of impurity? Either way, when can he do that in order to learn? When he doesn't have any place to learn, let's say in Eretz Israel. But if he does have a place to learn, then he's not allowed to become impure. Okay. Now here's a part for us. Amar Reb Yossi, says Reb Yossi, afilu bizman shemotzei lomod yitameh. Even where he can find a place to learn, he's still allowed, the Kohen, the priest, is still allowed to make himself become impure in order to learn. And why? Lefi she'ein adam zochel lomod mikol. Okay, because a person is not, does not merit to learn from everybody. So what's the context of this Gemara? A priest can become impure in order to learn Torah when, even if he can find a place to learn, but when? Why is he allowed to become impure? It's what the Ritva quoted, because a person can't learn from everyone. And this is what the Ritva invoked. This Gemara here, just like a priest can become impure in order to learn Torah with someone who they're going to be able to learn Torah with, because you can't learn with just everybody. So too, even if there's a yeshiva in the Ir Miklat, you still have to bring your Rebbe with you, because a person can't just learn with anybody. So that is why the Ritva, so this Gemara is the Ritva's source. Does that now shed any light on for anybody on, what this answer now means for the Ritva? Or has it changed it for anyone?
I understand his citation of Avodah Zarah there, but I don't understand within Avodah Zarah, like, what is the correlation between the priest becoming originally impure to learn Torah and saying one cannot learn with everyone?
Because it's saying, even though, so first so the Gemara said, when can he become impure in order to learn? So there's two answers. The first answer was, put this together, he can become impure to learn Torah when there is no place for him to learn. Okay, so we understand. If there's no place in Israel to learn a Torah, then the priest can become Tameh by leaving Eretz Yisrael, because there's no other way for him to learn a Torah. That I get. So this is the first answer. But then the Gemara brought another answer, which is, even if there is a place for him to learn, he can still, leave. He can still make himself impure to learn somewhere else, because a person can't learn from everyone. So maybe him leaving Israel, for example, will enable him to learn with someone from whom he learns with a better.
Okay.
So that is the point. So even though he could learn. There's a yeshiva in Israel that he can learn from, but there's a much better school for him in America, let's say. So this I would say, yeah, like we recognize you can't learn from everyone the same way. So that is how this is invoked in this Gemara. And that is what the Ritzvah address. So just like the priest can make himself pure, if there's someone else better he can learn with them, than what's in his present situation. That's the reason why the Rebbe is exiled with the student. So, I think that could be seen. I think you guys have shown that this Ritzvah can again work with both ways of how we understand the requirement that the Rebbe be exiled. It could be a positive thing. Wow, since Torah is life, and you have to learn Torah in the best way possible, so you bring your Rebbe with you because, you can't learn from everyone, and it's, Torah learning is his life, and, is how we maintain life, and therefore bring your Rebbe, even if there's a yeshiva. But I liked how Willow and who else connected it to maybe if it's Stafka in this context, that because they've gone through this trauma together, or, because maybe we see this as a kind of punishment in some way the Rebbe has to come to. Because, how do you connect with that? You can't learn from just everyone because you've had this connection already. You've had this trauma. I think we can see both of these aspects. Both aspects, both the more positive and the less a positive aspect to this requirement that the Rebbe be exiled, even in this Ritva. Okay, now I want to, a little bit of time left. I want to now investigate something that was mentioned in this Gemara in Avodah Zarah. Okay, and that was these two mitzvot that are mentioned: learning Torah and getting married. And the question is, we said the Kohen can contaminate himself for these two things. And that's how we, and that was the Ritzvah's basis for having the Rebbe be exiled to the Ir Miklat. So my question is, well, but anyone have a question on that? What if a Kohen wants to contaminate himself for another mitzvah? To keep Shabbos, let's say. Would that be okay? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Are the Kohen not already bound to that mitzvah?
What do you mean?
Like, don't they have to keep Shabbos anyways?
Yeah, but they also, right. So my question is, when we're saying they're allowed to contaminate themselves to learn Torah and get married, is it only these two things? Or is it other things as well? Like, let's say, let's do another, slaughter the karban on Pesach, or give a charity. Is it only these two mitzvot? Are these special? Or are these just examples?
Studying Torah and getting married really stick out to me as things that continue the Jewish people. Like the studying of Torah continues Jewish tradition and halacha, and then getting married, you have kids who will learn Torah one day. So they feel unique in that.
I think, that is, really, really insightful and sharp. And that is actually, can you just read for us inside this Tosfot here?
Okay.
Where I'm highlighting.
Yeah. Vidotcha banach. Whoa.
Sorry.
Metzot shahen Hashovot.
Excellent. So what does that mean? Davka b'hanach mitzvot shehein chashuvot.
I see Shavuot. Is that weeks, Hashavuot? Or is that
This is
I was gonna
chashuvot.
say Hashuvot?
Do you know what chashuvot is?
I do not.
Chashuv.
Does that
Anyone
come
know?
from the root choshev, to think?
It means that's one root to think, but chashuv is another word, and they're think they're related.
They are, yeah. If something is the meaning of it, then you think of it, right?
What's chashuv? Anyone know what Hebrew chashuv is?
Important.
Important. So it's exactly what you said. Dafka b'hanach mitzvot. Dafka b'hanach mitzvot is, dafka means specifically. These mitzvot, shehein chashuvot. Because these mitzvot, meaning learning Torah and getting married, are important. And then Tosfos here, it's a they, because this is a group. Did I bring that Gemara? Yeah, okay. Tosfos here brings a Gemara, which proves the importance of learning Torah and getting married. And basically it's going to really get something very, very similar to what, is that Willow? What was that you said it? Because I can't see because your names are covering your mouth. That's why.
Oh no. It's also
Okay.
really backlit. It was Sarah saying that.
Okay, sorry. So sorry, I keep getting.
It's all
Okay.
right.
Thank you. Okay. So yeah, I really get we could just read yeah. We could do you wanna keep reading this? Okay, so why are these chashuvot?
Yeah, I can keep reading.
Great, thank you.
Lemod
Mm-hmm.
Torah
Mhm.
Gadol Talmud Torah Shemava
Shemavi.
Shemavi
Mm-hmm.
Lidi Masa.
Maaseh. Excellent.
Maaseh.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll put so what does that mean? Gadol Talmud Torah shemevi lidei maaseh. So anyone knows that means? What's so important about Torah learning?
It brings about deeds.
Yeah. And why does it matter that it brings about deeds? I mean, it's what Sarah was saying. If you learn Torah, then that leads to deeds. And why do these deeds matter?
Because then you're living Torah.
Yeah, that's what makes you live a Jewish life. So learning Torah is unique. It's what makes Jewish people Jews. It brings to the actions that define us. Okay, and what about getting married?
Ve'asa nami.
That's actually the Hisha, as in Lisa.
Isha. Oh,
Isha.
okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking and I didn't see the yud and I like doubted myself. Ve'isha nami daktiv.
Yeah, dichtiv. So what Hebrew word do you see in the word dichtiv?
Katav.
Yeah, katav. What does katav mean?
To write.
Exactly, to write. Now, what does that refer to? That is verbs with that relate to writing only refer to one thing in rabbinic literature. The Torah, Tanakh. Why? Because only Tanakh is written. So when you see something dichtiv as it's written, that's referring to a biblical verse. The noun for Tanakh is kara, which means, kara meaning, which means to read. Because what's the work that is read? The Tanakh. As opposed to everything, the Gemara and the Mishnah, which were oral, they were Ba'al Peh. So Dichtiv introduces the citation of a biblical verse. So Tosa is now going to bring this biblical verse. It's a verse from Yeshayahu. On the book of Isaiah, it says, Kol Mar Hashem, so says God, Borei HaShamayim, created the heavens, Hu Elokim, He is God, Yotzer Haaretz, Osahu, God created the land, and He established it. But He says, Lo Tohu Bera'a, but He did not create it for tohu, for like nothing, for emptiness. Lashevet Yitzara. He created it to inhabit. So what does it learn out? Lo tohu ba bera'ah. He did not create it to be empty. Okay, so it brings this verse. So what do you think the connection between this verse and getting married is?
Putting more people on earth, it's not going to be empty.
Exactly. This verse is saying that, God created the world to inhabit it. And so by saying getting married, it's really referring to procreation.
Mm-hmm.
And saying that, the world was basically created to have, to populate it.
I have a question. Is there a reason or speculation why the Tosafot uses this specific verse from the Tanakh? But because I feel like there's more specific citations that they could have used that say like it's a mitzvah to procreate.
Yeah. So Tosafot is not making this up. Tosafot is getting this from another Gemara, from a Gemara. And that Gemara is a Gemara Megillah. And so this Gemara, so this is what learning iyun is, learning on a more, an analytical level. Now, so Tosfot here quote. So this was a Tosfos on the Gemara in Avodah Zarah that was quoted by the Ritzvah on our Gemara. So, learning, it's like, those dolls. You keep on like opening another doll. Okay, so we're not gonna open another doll, a babushka, right? And it's a Gemara in Megillah. Now this Gemara is, again, seemingly unrelated. It refers to a Mishnah, a law in the Mishnah that you're not allowed to sell holy objects in order to buy something less holy. Like you can't, you can sell a Sefer Torah to buy another Sefer Torah, another Torah scroll. About imachru Torah, but if you sell a Torah scroll, lo yichu sefarim, you can't buy like regular books with it, like a book of the prophets. Sfarim, if you sell individual books, and by books there it's talking about scrolls. I mean they didn't have books, but it means it's not a whole Torah scroll, more just like an individual work. Lo yichu mitpachot. You can't sell a book of Tanakh in order to buy the covering for the Torah scroll. Mitpachot lo yichu teba. Okay, and if you sell the covering, you can't use that to buy, the like the table. What's it called? The bima, the ark that's in the synagogue. Table lo yichu. So it just keeps up. You can't downgrade the level of holiness on something. Okay. So then the Gemara here has a question. Mahu limchor sefer Torah yashan likach bo chadash. Well, can I sell an old Sefer Torah to buy a new Sefer Torah? Okay, so here's the question. Kevan delo male asur. Is it asur? Is it prohibited? Because you can go up in holiness, but here it's not going up, it's the same level. So is it prohibited? Odilma kevan de'eleka achrina shafir dami. Or what's the other option? Maybe it's not prohibited. Why is it maybe not prohibited? Maybe because because you're not like switching it for something else. You know, they're both a Torah scroll, then maybe it should be permitted. So that is the question of the Gemara. And the Gemara brings a few different possibilities to answer this question. Okay. And then finally, we'll end with this. Tashma. So it says, come and listen. And it tries to prove it from this. Damar Rabbi Yochanan, are saying Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Meir. Ein mochrim sefer Torah. You're not allowed to sell a sefer Torah. Ella lomod Torah b'lisa isha. You can only sell a sefer Torah. Why? In order to enable you to learn Torah and to
Pay
get
for the
married.
wedding.
Exactly. Pay for the wedding. You know, you're poor, but you have a sefer Torah, and the only way you can pay for the wedding is if you sold your sefer Torah. That would be okay. So what does Gemara try to prove here? Shmarina Torah b'Torah shafir dami. So that shows you could sell a sefer Torah to buy another Torah. Why? Well, if you can sell a sefer Torah to learn Torah, clearly you can sell a sefer Torah to buy another Torah. Okay, so that is what the Gemara initially suggests. And next time we will see why the Gemara rejects that. And then we're going to bring this back to the Tosfot.
Thank you so much, Dr. Schick, and thank you everyone in class. We'll see each other again next week. Lehitraot.
Thank you.
Thank you.